Agents Podcast.
So, in the first episode with Andrew Bayon, we got deep on some advanced strategy, I would say, which was it ended up talking about the channels that I have, which are digital mayor type strategies, and shifting into more of a very, I would call it lower funnel, lower bottom of funnel kind of content for real estate. And we talked about what that content would look like for real estate. And so, in my opinion, we were fairly high level. And what I realized towards the end of the first episodes, if you haven't listened to the first episode with Andrews, just stop right now. Go listen to that one first and come back to this episode because we're going to now break down how to get started. So depending on where you are in the journey, might depend on what you need to apply from what you're learning from these episodes. But Andrew, thank you for coming back for a second episode here in the Lab Coat Agents podcast. So I want to digress back to the most simplistic question, which is, all right, I heard what you guys said. I love everything. I want to get started on this. How do I get started? What type of equipment do I need to use? Where do I need to be shooting these videos? Let's start there and then progress the conversation.
Yeah, so I'll kind of give two lanes to think about it. You have one is kind of like the traditional like moving to living in that we kind of talked about, more community focused content. From there, you can do the bulk. Like, here's the thing, at every level, like there's a varying degree of what you can do. So like you can go out into the community, you can have videographer, you can get B-roll, you can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can't, like, you don't have like the tools, you don't have the budget or the time, whatever, it's a lot simpler to go with what will you actually execute with, and then just keep upgrading from there little by little. So the best way is you can shoot kind of like in a setup like you have, or like I have, or like in your kitchen, just somewhere that you can just if you were to have this room in your house, you could batch film 4 videos in a few hours, and it removes the complexity of execution away because all you have to do is go to that room and shoot. And you can literally use your iPhone. iPhone shoots 4K, especially with the iPhone 15. But like I'm shooting on my iPhone and it's 4K. And so all you need is that. You could buy like a $30 stand off Amazon. You can get like a $30 to $50 lavalier like wired mic. Um, and then you just need usually like one kind of like front light. Now, again, there's levels to it. You can get a background lighting like you have the sign behind you. I got just bought this off Amazon. uh and you can get a better mic for like $100, a wireless go. Uh, like a Rode wireless go, I think is like 1 to 200. That allows you to go out into the community with it too. I think that's probably the most versatile mic, is something that is a more wireless. And now the second route that you can go with it is that like home tour route. So this is where you're going into like the new construction homes. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is actually because of the whole situation with like buyers. A lot of people are like, well, how do I get listings, or how do I attract sellers with content? Home tours are one of the tried and true ways to prove to like a seller, hey, this is how I'll market a home. And I've seen people who it's not their listing, like Ksenia Korneva, Brad McCallum when he first started, and people see them do these videos around new construction, around other people's listings, and they think it's their listing, and they think that's how they're going to sell their house. So it's one of the best like content, all-in-one content to reach sellers. All you really need for that is a few things, either like a gimbal for your iPhone, which is generally kind of relatively cheap, or $200 for like a DJI Osmo. Or you can get, a lot of people love the new like GoPro 3. I forget the name of it, but either one of those, you just use 0.5x zoom. You have that Rode wireless mic, and you can go and you can shoot content, and that's really all you need to start out.
I think actually what you just said there, the point five is very important. So first
Yeah.
of all, you heard what he said. It's very simplistic. Shoot your cell phone. Maybe set up your own studio at home. I mean, my opinion, Andrew, is either have something clean behind you or maybe something strategic.
Yep.
Yours, I would consider clean, mine a little bit more strategic. Either one, probably not right or wrong, but it kind of helps just define consistency in a brand. But when you're shooting homes, zooming out, everybody knows that you can zoom in. You can zoom out to 0.5, which gives any home, no matter how small, much more depth and make it feel bigger, right?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize that until like we started like editing reels from a professional videographer. Like, professional videographer, they'll go shoot the listing, as you know, for like 200 to 300 bucks. You get this video. They never give you a reel, so you have to cut it up for the reel. And I was like, why is it so zoomed in? Like, well, it's kind of obvious, but like, how can I get it to where it's like zoomed out? And I noticed there's people like Tyler Hassman was talking about this, and then Cassandra kind of modeled his style for home tours, and all of them were using 0.5x zoom on their camera. And that just makes it feel more immersive because you can kind of see what you would see in reality. You can see a little bit above, a little bit below, into the sides, rather than being so cropped.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wider angle, if you will. But it makes a
Yeah.
huge difference, especially on small homes.
Yeah.
Because it just gives it much more depth. So, all right. So now we've laid that groundwork. You mentioned Rode microphone. Is there, I mean, is because Rode's expensive. It's a higher end. I personally don't use Rode. I've used some just off-brand Amazon lav mics that have worked just fine. I just
Yep.
got another one. I was going to get the DJI
I
lav
heard of that
mics,
too. It was good.
but I didn't because somebody recommended another off-brand from Amazon. It was more expensive. It was like 110 bucks, but it's almost just like the DJI, and so far it's great.
Yeah,
So
you just need one of those. It's like,
okay,
I just know the Road because that's just what I know. Like, I know the DJI. I kind of forgot about it when I was saying it.
yep.
That's another popular one.
And
Um,
more affordable, a little bit
yeah.
less expensive. But even the brand that I use is even less expensive than that. Um, so I guess to each their own. I know my videographer wanted the Rhodes, but I think it's when you're in that business, you tend to probably lean the higher end product. And for me, it's like the sound needs to be crisp and great, but I'm
Yep.
not sure if there's that big of a difference between Rode and the off brand.
Yeah. I would say the simplest way to put like what you and I just said is just, for less than $200, like, even if you make a $50-$100 investment, you get a mic. Maybe you get some type of stand or gimbal. Actually, I forgot someone. There's like this. Suman Kim talks about this like $5 or $15 thing that's just, you put your phone to it and you just kind of hold it,
Yeah.
and that's it. So for literally $100, you have everything that you need plus your iPhone. Sound, iPhone, that's it. At
Yeah.
home, you need a light unless you can work off of your windows, but sometimes that's hard to use that.
Yeah. Yeah. It can oftentimes wash you out. So yeah, just I recommend a couple of lights.
Yep.
So there's no direct light. They're both at angles. You have two
Yep.
lights. The
Yeah,
the
like,
mic I was thinking of is called Newer.
oh yeah, yeah. Those
Uh,
are good too.
it's just less expensive than DJI. That's all.
Like, I have a light right here, and then I have a light kind of here, kind of pointing to like my backside, and I'm not a professional at lighting.
Yeah.
Like, this one's kind of cheap. The one behind me was like $30, and then this one's the most expensive one, and it's like a softbox aperture. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Same. And I think that's the key. I think for those of you that are listening to this and you're thinking, gosh, I have no idea. You can do it for very inexpensive. Also, when it comes to lighting, just tinker around with it
yeah,
and maybe shoot some dry runs of just seeing what the lighting looks like. Test it with the lights off, test it with the lights on, test it with the lights directly at your face, test it with some slightly different angles, and just see what you like the best. Is that going to make or break? Probably not.
no,
But having shitty lighting will definitely be a detriment. So get some decent lighting.
yep,
Okay. So that's in a studio, but when you get out and you go do walkthroughs, little things like opening the blinds, turning on lights, like
yep.
important, correct?
It's the same thing as like when you go to show a house, you go set up the house for the client. The same thing when you're going to do a video of a house, you set up the house as if you're showing it to a client. You'd go turn on lights, you make sure everything looks okay, maybe move some things around, etc., and just make sure that it's going to look good,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep. All right. So now we've gotten to that place, and I guess the only thing you didn't really mention. So you mentioned the batch shooting content in your home. Then you mentioned maybe going out and doing a house tour. What if you're highlighting, let's just say a neighborhood, a new development? Are
Yeah.
you going out in the, do you recommend going out in the field and maybe shooting it while you're standing somewhere positioned in the subdivision? Or does it really matter if you're shooting it from your studio at home or in your office?
So again, there's kind of varying degrees. Like if you need to get a video out, or if you know for simplicity of execution, shooting at home is better, I would say do that. At the end of the day, it's going to be a little more valuable. Like essentially, what I kind of was realizing in my head, I was like, okay, Alex Hormozy talks about all the time. Value is this equation of above the equation is like what the person wants, like the desired outcome. Below the equation is the place that all these companies, Amazon, Uber, uh, love to play in. It's saving time, saving energy, saving effort. Like the billion-dollar companies have become billion-dollar companies not because of the top, but because of the bottom. It's like how simple does Amazon make it for you to purchase something? It's one click. It's at your house in one day. So there is value in going to the community and having that as a backdrop. Now, if that encumbers or makes it complex, then don't do it. But if you can do it, then it will add value in the video. The benefit now, you don't have to go walking in the community. You can literally just set up a camera and you can shoot in one location, have a decent backdrop behind you, like whether it's the house, a lake, the sign, whatever. And that's again level one. Level two, there's this guy named Adam Moran in Tampa. I think it's like Tampa, Florida Living or something like that. And he does something that this huge creator named Film Booth does, which is all you simply do is you have an idea of the outline of the script. You have like the hook, like let's just say you have three main points and you have the outro. You shoot the hook on at the sign. So you coordinate, you want the sign to be in the backdrop. Then maybe at the first main point, you're at the like a big feature or like the lake or whatever. And then the second point's about the house. So you go outside the house. So you shoot it outside the house. The third main point is inside the house. So that's kind of like level three. I skipped a step. So that's level three. It's like you shoot in 2 to 5 different locations. You add a little variation. There's actually a simpler one in between where it's like level one is you're shooting in that one location. Level two is like you
One
lit
location as in studio.
one location in the community.
Okay.
Sorry. Uh level one should I should say there's 4 levels then. Level one is in the studio. Level 2 is in the community, shot in one
but the
location.
same place for the entire video.
Yep. Level 3 would be all you do is, and this is so simple, is like you just turn the camera from here and you turn the camera here. So all you're doing is making a circle in the same location, but the backdrop changes every single time you go 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And it looks different, adds variation. You don't have to move, and it keeps it simple. And then
Yep.
level 4 is having multiple shots. So,
I
but
like it. Yeah. Is there a certain cadence on which, like maybe intentionally changing it up, or do you always want to try to lean level 4 when you can, but it's not the end of the world? And then if you're doing level 1, are you going out to the community and getting B-roll so then you can be interjecting B-roll so it's not so there's a lot of pattern interrupt throughout the video? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, that's where it's like it's kind of tough. It's just you have to go with your gut on like what do you think you can do. Because one, so here's probably the simplest. The simplest is like you either shoot in your office or you shoot in the community and you don't like vary it up, just kind of start there. And then while you're there, just get some B-roll. Um, and that's it. Like keep it simple, get some B-roll because the benefit is once you get the B-roll, you have the B-roll forever. I think that's probably one of the most under leveraged things that I didn't even realize until kind of recently of like how big of a benefit it is. It is if you plan maybe once a month or every couple months just to go out and get B-roll and you just store that in Google Drive or Dropbox, sort it very macro, like Tampa, have different folders for different neighborhoods, different communities. You have B-roll for the rest of your career, and you just keep doing that on a small scale every month or every quarter, and you'll never have to worry about having B-roll for content over time. And
I was gonna say let me not assume that everybody just automatically knows what we're talking about when we say B-roll.
yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I do, and I do the same thing sometimes, but
Yeah.
you go ahead and explain what you mean when we're talking about B-roll.
So B-roll for all of the video dummies like me who have absolutely no experience with shooting B-roll like me is essentially you go into an area to just shoot this secondary video that goes on. So what B-roll means is A-roll is like you shooting, talking to the camera. That's what A-roll. A-roll is like the track and the editing. That's like the first layer. B-roll is that second layer that goes on top of you talking that helps show what you're talking about. And again, going back to the value part, like when you have that B-roll, that second layer showing what you're talking about, it helps people visualize. And as you mentioned, it helps keep them engaged, helps retain them longer in the video, etc.
Yeah, got it. And so when you're talking about getting B-roll and you say that do that monthly, it's like just going out to those communities and shoot just random scenes of whatever, specifically, ideally, what you're talking about in the video. So that way, an editor, whether that's yourself or someone else, can just put it over the top as you're talking about those things. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
What I see work for a lot of people is they have the videos that they want to go shoot and they'll go maybe they'll shoot some in the office, shoot some in the field, but based off of that, they know what they want to go shoot for the B-roll. So whether it's the homes, whether it's the neighborhood, the features in the neighborhood, etc., or what I've seen work for a lot of people is they coupled some of the shoot, and this works well with the home tour videos, is they couple the shooting with showings. So you'll schedule showings for like a certain day, and you either go a little bit earlier or stay a little bit longer, and you just shoot content while you're there. And that's I've heard work for a ton of people for batching content.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. Okay, so now we're past the phase of shooting, I think. Is there anything that we probably didn't cover that somebody might need to hear?
Um, this is where it's like I may not know necessarily
Sure.
because I
Yeah, I'm
feel like
thinking the
we
same thing
covered.
because you and I are we can speak the language. But I think that's good. I think for the sake of timing,
Yeah,
I think we're good here. If you don't if you're lost, this may not be the right strategy for you anyway. Um, so now though, this gets deeper because now you've figured out what equipment you need, you know what style of shots to take or where to shoot it. You've got 4 different options. You know how to get B-roll, you know how to execute on all of that. But now I've got all this on my camera. Now what?
yeah, the fun part. What do
The
you
the
do with it?
post productions as the professionals call it.
Yeah, the short answer for everyone that has a little extra time than money is it's worth the extra 50 bucks, $100 to pay someone to edit it. Now obviously not everyone can start at that place. Uh, but I just want to leave that as like that's what you want to build up to because as a salesperson, it is in your best interest not to edit a video for 2 to 4 hours. It is to generate leads, generate clients, etc. But when you're first getting started, you have to. So the simplest way for most people to start nowadays, used to be way more complicated. Thankfully, TikTok came out with CapCut. It's a completely free app. It can do most of the complicated editing in a very simplistic way for free. And if you want some extra bonuses, I think it's like $10 extra a month. But that is the best app, I think, for editing because it looks very native to the platform and it has a lot of native features around like the text that you put on it, all the things that you see everyone do. It's just in my eyes, it's like the Apple of like editing software.
So editing themselves.
Yeah, that's where a handful of people have to start, I would say,
Mhm.
the bulk. Because it doesn't make financial sense for you to pay for an editor.
Mhm.
Uh like but then when you could say, hey, yeah, I can squeeze out an extra 200 to 400 plus a month. Sometimes it's 200 a video, so it might be 600. It it does make sense to pay for an editor. That's the first place to kind of outsource your time is a video editor that I've seen for most people on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, because once you get to this point, because that's going to become, I mean, the content creation is time consuming in and of itself, then the editing can be just as much, if not more time consuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now there are a lot of options when it comes to VAs and that sort of thing to
Yep.
video editing that can be much more cost effective
Hmm.
if you don't have a massive budget. But I agree with you. I think when anybody's getting started, and I say this even when I speak, Andrew, is that I believe that acquiring at least some basic skill when it comes to video editing is a necessity as we evolve in our industries because it opens up so much opportunity to content creation if you know how to do some of these things versus uh you know either putting out content that looks completely antiquated or just bad or not putting anything out at all. And so just acquiring some basic editing skills can really be a game changer for someone's business.
It's kind of like when most people like hire, and now kind of speaking a little higher level, like most people will hire a marketer into their team or a social media person, and they don't even know how to train the social media person or like what to look for. And it's like the dumb leading,
Yeah.
the blind leading the blind
Blind
is
leading the
probably
blind. Yeah. The
is a
dumb leading
better.
the blind. That's good. That's a little harsher, but
But when you have like a sense, it's that's why it's good to like learn the platforms, like it's good to learn YouTube, be a consumer of the platform. It's good to learn editing at some small, or like just know what to look for. Like just have some idea of like what is the culture of what people are putting out on YouTube, on Instagram, what to look for. So you can, when you give it to an editor, you can say, hey, this is how it should be done. Be because when you don't know how a platform works and then you hire someone to tell you how it works, you don't necessarily have any idea if what they're doing is even right at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you articulated that, because I've heard from so many people that said, yeah, I hired a VA, but it didn't work out. And when push came to shove, it was more of they didn't know how to guide them, and they expected to hire somebody with a skill set that would just know what to do. But that's almost never the case. Even with a local videographer, that's one of the biggest problems we've had with videographers, is that you want to show up to a shoot and think the videographer is going to know what to tell you what to say. The videographer doesn't know your business. You know your business. You need to come prepared. And then it just becomes a clusterfuck, to put it bluntly.
Yeah. It's what's the book? Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Like if you want to be any sort of leader at any level, like you have to take extreme accountability over everything. And but if you do not give them a vision of like how it should be set, if you do not give them some like guidelines, it doesn't have to be like this detailed like rubric of like this is how to edit, this is my brand, this is this. It's just if there's no expectations, there's no, it's the same way of like building a company. If there's no vision, if there's nothing that it's building towards, then why are people even working for you in the first place if
Yeah.
they don't even know why they're building?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now we're past editing. And is there any various, let's call it basic editing techniques that anybody should employ when putting these videos together?
Um, I would just say the basics of like I'll just kind of take this step by step to try to break it down. Like the first 30 seconds is the most important. When we're looking at YouTube nowadays, the culture of the YouTube platform, and this is why I say being a consumer of the platform is so important. If you are on the desktop on YouTube and you hover over a thumbnail, you can actually literally watch a video without clicking into a video. And Mr. Beast talked about this, several others as well, where it is now part of the thumbnail is the first 30 seconds of the video. And how that video looks can either attract or detract from someone actually clicking in. So when again, consumer behavior, when you are hovering over that video, you don't have sound. You're just looking. So if you're just looking at someone talking, you don't know what's going on. And as this is anything in sales, a confused mind says no. So if you add text in the first 30 seconds, the little Instagram subtitles, like the stuff that you see everyone doing because of Alex Hermosi and this big person named Ryan Magan, who's uh, more in the video space and digital marketing space, the text over the videos help people kind of read what's going on, understand, and help them say yes to the video. And that's really the simplest way to put it. And then you can add in like some B-roll of shots, whether it's like if you have the B-roll, you can find B-roll online, you can get photos, you can use Google Maps, just some stuff to add some variation within that first 30 seconds of the first minute can really help with retention. And then ultimately, yes, you do want to have some level of keeping that up throughout the entire video. You don't need subtitles and captions for the rest of the video, but like there should be some variation. Maybe like some zoom in, some zoom out. Maybe it's some B-roll. Maybe it's some text to emphasize certain things. I just think of it as a consumer. I don't want to listen to someone talking all the time. If you have the ability,
Or look at them talking all the time.
yeah, look at them talking all the time. It's how do you show what you're talking about? And just think of it like that. If if you are a viewer of your own video, what would you want to see, feel, hear, etc.? But
Mhm.
just start with see, essentially.
Yeah. But the one thing I will say to that too, and that's you're 100% right. But also don't always think of it how you look at it. I've had many conversations with maybe an older and just an older person, and they're like, it's jumping around too much. And so then understand who your audience is and understand what they want. So even though you may not like constant jump cuts or quick cuts or whatever the case might be, if the audience that you ultimately want to watch your videos, that is what resonates with them, you got to get over what it is that you like and understand what they like and put that out. And so, again, figure that you got to figure that out for yourself.
Yep.
But and maybe and part of that figuring out too, I guess, would probably be engagement. How are people consuming your content? So I don't want to get too complicated there, because I want to continue down this path, because now you get into the point. So now once you've shot and edited and you have a final product, there's still a bunch more to this process, because posting to YouTube is a lot more labor intensive than it is posting something to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, which is just a very simple caption, maybe a cover photo. Whereas on on YouTube, you've got a description, you've got keywords, you've got a thumbnail, you got all these important components to when you're posting. Plus, there's several steps. And so talk us through that.
Yeah. First to kind of tie the knot on like if someone wants an editor, I would just go look Upwork, Fiverr, go to the third party platforms that do most of the legwork for you. There's Contra, there's other ones. There's people who vet VAs, there's companies like that, editing. Go there. If you have time, then you can go like do the vetting yourself, and that's where you can get more bang for your buck in hiring. Or then there's the next level, which is videographers, etc. So moving to your question, like the posting. So there's a few ways to think about this. Essentially, very high level, you have the title, the thumbnail, the tags, and the description. Um, I like to kind of start with the title and the thumbnail before you even shoot the video, because that is the whole idea of the video. It's how you shoot the video. It goes into the thought process of the script. So doing what I call, and I didn't really coin this, I forget where I taken it from at this point, but packaging of the video is kind of upfront with the idea part of it. And all that really is look for for a lot of people, just kind of take the idea, put into Google or YouTube and look for models of that video. And what can you model for the title and the thumbnail? What And then you can use things like TubeBuddy and like vidIQ to do like keyword research, stuff like that. And there's some other tools like creatorhooks.com where you can do like some of this research that you could do on YouTube. They kind of make it easier. But the reason for all this is you look for models so that when you go create the thumbnail and the title, you're not just guessing. For me, the biggest thing that I want to do is I want to remove any guesswork on how a video will perform or how anything will do. And I've heard like Stephen Bartlett talk about this. It's like, how do you remove any guessing? And then, yes, obviously experiment. Like he's huge on experimentation. We experiment all the time. But remove the guesswork so that when you go to create, it makes it a lot easier. You're not creating off of just something in your head. And the way to think about a title and a thumbnail is the thumbnail is an ad. The title is like a newspaper headline or a blog article. The point of all the purpose of an ad is to get you to read the headline or the title. So the biggest mistake that I made with thumbnails is making the thumbnail the title. And that's the biggest thing that most people do is they'll put the title text in the thumbnail. All you need in the thumbnail is a few words, usually 1 to 3. Then you have an attractive background. A lot of people are now using AI. You can use any shot that you take, but ChatGPT, Dolly, and Midjourney, you can generate a really cool background image, put that into Canva. Canva's free. Take 10 plus photos of yourself, go set up a studio or use a blank wall, take a lot of different like thumbnail shots like this, pointing whatever, and then use Canva, remove the background. Now you have yourself that you can put on there. You have the background. Think of the text as something super simple, and that's your thumbnail. And then the title is, so I've been really like thinking through how to think through this, and most people just keep it very simple in the title and don't try to keyword stuff it, because the biggest problem most people in real estate do is they have all these different words of like moving to Tampa. Are you moving to, it's like moving to Tampa ? Tampa real estate 2024. And it's like redundant. You just had the word Tampa, then you used Tampa. So always start macro to like micro and assume that first, with the thumbnail and the title, assume most people don't even know the neighborhood. And the best way to explain this is listing videos. Most people will put the address of the listing in the title, or like they'll put the neighborhood of the listing in the title, or they'll have one of the two in the thumbnail too. Most people don't know the neighborhood. They're not searching for that address. Like the majority of the people are searching more broad. So you want to reach, there's kind of like 4 questions I ask myself. It's like, could a 5-year-old watch this video, look at this thumbnail and title and understand? Could someone who has no clue about the area look at this thumbnail and title and want to click it? Could someone who's a local and an expert look at it and want to click it? And there's like another one, but you want to be able to appeal to a way bigger audience within the thumbnail and title than just someone who understands that neighborhood or that specific, like whatever the topic is about. So sorry, I probably went on
No, that's
a couple
okay.
different tangents.
And so when you say don't stuff the title with keywords, stuff the description with keywords.
So neither, actually.
Really?
So you don't people overcomplicate SEO on YouTube. SEO is really like you have to think about it. Like YouTube is the smartest. Like if you think Facebook's algorithm is smart, there is no platform online besides maybe Reddit, but even it's better than Reddit because YouTube has video, it has sound, it has talking. So it knows the search. Like if you think you need to do something that's like super complicated and convoluted to get it to rank, you really don't. You just need to have the words like moving to Tampa, what are the best neighborhoods or whatever. You just need the word once. And then you just need maybe the word once in the description, maybe in the first line. Use TubeBuddy. I like vidIQ for tags, just because the user experience. But I use TubeBuddy for the whole testing. But you can also use like MrBeast's software that's for free called viewstats.com. But
say that again.
view stats.
View stats.
Yeah. all you really need is the whatever the keyword is, have it in the title, have it somewhere in the description. Usually the first line helps. Uh, and then obviously just do the work with the tags, picking the tags. I think of the tags like hashtags on Instagram. It's like you have a ladder where it's like back in the day, and you probably know this, where it's like you used to want to have like 30 hashtags. And within those 30 hashtags, you would have like 5 to 10 at like this level, 5 to 10 at like this level, 5 to 10 at this level. And it's like you had this stair step of like tags that people would search, like Tampa real estate, Tampa realtor, uh, Florida real estate, Florida realtor, or you get more micro or and it's the same thing with like the tags on YouTube. It's just go like niche, what can you rank for? And then just keep laddering it up to your big area, Tampa. I wouldn't go Florida because you're not going to be able to compete. But yeah, I kind of went
Got
on a
it.
tangent there too.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's good. I mean, it's all valuable stuff, and that's what people, I think, anybody listening to this at this point and they've stuck with it this far are obviously in it in it to execute, in it to take something to another level. So once we get to this point now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that the title and the thumbnail aren't more important than the actual video itself.
Explain that to me again.
Because if your thumbnail sucks and your title sucks, they're not going to watch the video anyway.
Yeah.
So all the effort you put into that video to put up a crappy thumbnail and a uninteresting title will be worthless.
Yeah. Basically, you want to think of it as like each level, each part of the process has its benefit. Like if you don't make a title and a thumbnail that people want to click, then they'll never watch the video. So all the work that you put into this video, it great. You've kind of I don't want to say you wasted your time because ultimately you didn't. You always learned something from everything. Um, but you do want to give attention to your title and thumbnail. That's essentially all I'm saying is there is an importance of that. Same reason why like there's an importance to giving attention to the editing. But it's again, it's all a level of put it out, get 1% better, test it, and just keep like focus on one thing with every video. Okay, this next video, I'm gonna get better with the thumbnail. This next video, I'm gonna get better with the editing. This next video, I'm gonna get better with the filming. And it's just how do you get better, a little bit better with each video? And over time, your 100th video is gonna be way different than your first video.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that, and that kind of takes me to another question, which is maybe not a question, more a statement that a lot of, the Daryl Eves of the world will say things like, don't don't dig or study or get too caught up in your analytics until you've produced 100 long form videos.
Yeah, it's a tough battle because it's like it depends on which side of the equation that your personality is. If you are the analytical person, looking at the numbers too much is going to cause paralysis for analysis. Whereas, like, if you are more like a visionary, extroverted, like you're just very go type mentality person, if you absolutely never look at the numbers, then you may never improve potentially. Like if there's and I just say that like you can have someone else look at the numbers, but like just know kind of which side you kind of sit on and be like, okay, I'm more of the doer mentality. So I know personality wise, I will do the right thing. I will execute. So I'll just here and there, like look at the numbers for feedback. It's this black box thinking where there's a book on. Have you ever read the book or heard of the book Black Box?
Heard of it, never read it.
Basically it's just this concept that like airplanes, when airplanes were having trouble with like crashes and like they didn't know why all these airplanes were crashing. They put this black box in the airplane and it was it's basically indestructible. And when a crash happens, they just look for the black box because it has the recording of everything that went on in the airplane. And it's just this accountability measure. And it goes back to like the extreme ownership, accountability. Like if you're going to lead anyone as a leader, like you have to have accountability, you have to have numbers, you have to go back, look at the numbers. So one of the best ways is just holding yourself accountable to the numbers and having that black box thinking, like looking at your failures is the best way to learn ultimately.
Define the word failure.
For me, a failure isn't really what most people would consider a failure. Like I never really think anything fails. It's just it doesn't perform or like it didn't go the way I thought it would go. That's I started to think of it more like science. Science was my worst subject. um, I was never good at science, but the one thing to this day that like I just think about is like the scientific method is very simply one of the foundational things to anything. Like I took this mentality from Stephen Bartlett where it's like the scientific method at its core is just you have an idea, you want to test that idea, you have one variable that you test, you look at the test, and you say, did it perform? Did it not perform? You analyze it, you form a conclusion, and then you just go from there. That's really all it is. Like
Mm.
in that's everything in life. You try something, did it go right? Did it not go right? No. Okay. What did I learn from it? Let me get better the next one. But it never gets in the way of like execution. It's just you just learn something, you get better.
Yeah. I love it, man. And this honestly is a conversation, and I think we really covered a lot on this episode today, from basically the start to all the way to obviously posting. And there are some more intricate details inside of all of this. But again, I think we're talking to the person who really just wants to get started here. And again, if you didn't listen to the first episode, please go do so. There's a lot of richness inside of that episode. But I think at this point, Andrew, you're either equipped to go jump off that ledge and get going, or well, I guess there's three options here. You're realizing this isn't for you, or C, you should connect with Andrew. You should connect with A Impact Media and let them guide you and help you down this path. You can do it yourself. You just got to decide. What did you say in the first episode? You've either got the time or you've got the money. Which one is it? And whichever that is, you got to obviously lean into the other one. And so, Andrew, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and work with you, how do they do so? And what does that look like?
So you can either go to our website, aimpactmedia.com, or DM me on Instagram, Andrew underscore Bayon. But you can do most of this yourself. And I want to leave people with one thing around lead generation and how to generate leads and all of that. Because ultimately, you don't necessarily need to hire anyone to get started on YouTube. And I think everyone can get started from zero. So when it comes to generating leads on YouTube, the biggest thing that's going to move the needle is you create a really good video. At the end, you have a call to action, which is just simply a fancy word of saying you're asking for their business. You're saying, hey, if you made it to this point in the video, there's a good chance you're looking to buy or sell, in most cases, buy a new home in Lake of the Ozarks. I'll leave my info in the description below. Uh, it's info, and here's where you can get a little tactical. You can have an email and a phone number that's just for YouTube, and that's how you track it. So like info at uh jefffitzer.com. You can make a custom phone number that's just for YouTube, and then you can have a Google form. that people could fill out. Basically, you just want to have different ways for different people because people are work in all different ways. An older demographic's going to call or email you. A younger demographic's going to want to fill out a form, like send their information, leave a message, and they don't want to call a salesperson. That's just how the younger demo works. So have a couple lanes for the different people and they'll find their way to you. If you create enough videos, do it for a long enough time, you will end up getting business from YouTube.
I love it. I love it. So, any final words of wisdom for anybody, for any listening in terms of just that might be just a little overwhelmed or fearful of heading into what I would consider one of the most advanced social platforms that exist, however, also potentially one of the most powerful and impactful platforms?
I would just say, like, riding a bike was hard when you first learned it. Like, knowing how to do open houses was hard. Heck, cold calling people is hard. Dealing with rejection like that is hard. So you choose your hard. For me, like shooting videos, like, yeah, you could say it's hard. Like, I don't love how I sound on camera. Not everyone loves how they look on camera. Like, again, choose your hard, but ultimately it's not as hard as we all like to think it is. It's just a skill. And if it's a skill, then it can be learned. That's how I like to think of anything. Like, ultimately, like, if it's a skill, it could be learned. If it's a skill you can get better at, you can master it. And most things in life like this are just a skill and it's a muscle that you have to train. You can't just go to the gym and hope to get in shape, hope to get fit, and then stop. Like, you have to keep it up. It has to be a consistent practice. So that's really all this is.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. Words of wisdom right there, Andrew. So I really appreciate these conversations. We've had a bunch
No,
of
I
them
appreciate
recently.
you.
So this has been
Appreciate you
fun.
having me on.
Again, aimpactmedia.com. You can go check it out. You can even schedule a 30-minute like consultation or call. And Andrew, it's been fantastic. If somebody wanted to follow you on the socials, where's the best place to do so?
You can follow me on Instagram, Andrew_Bayon. But if you want to learn anything about real estate, you want to learn from people who are killing it in real estate, I have a podcast, Breaking and Building Leaders, a newsletter where I break down people who have built $1 billion brokerage to people who have sold $20 million a year on YouTube. So I'm doing a lot to like build kind of like the tools of Titans, but for real estate. And I just want to have cool conversations with cool people and ask how did they build their business and give other people those case studies and tools for them to build their business.
Yeah, good inspiration, man. Love it, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you as always, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Lab Coat Agents Podcast.